on July 18th. For some perspective on that, CBS 5's Jason Berry is joining us live with an attorney, David Cantor, who can discuss some of that with us about what's next.
Yeah, David Cantor has had a number of death penalty cases and has been watching the Jodi Arias trial very closely. Initially, your reaction to what happened today?
Well, I wasn't shocked. Once the dynamite instruction was given, it normally doesn't change a jury's opinion. But even before the dynamite instruction, it is very difficult for a person to put somebody to death. I mean, they've decided she's guilty, it was heinous, cruel, and depraved, but to single-handedly save somebody's life or put them to death, that's a burden I don't think anybody would want.
Now, initially, when they're questioned by the attorneys before the case starts, they're aware of all the parameters here, but that can change, correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's one thing to do it in theory. It's another thing when you're the one who's holding the switch, so to speak. And also, if you weigh the factors, was it really a death case? And I don't think it ever really was a death case. Life in prison, sure, but not death.
All right, so we talk about the challenges this jury faced. Now we have to talk about the challenges facing a new jury that hasn't been following all the details of the case. How tough is it going to be to find an impartial jury?
Well, that's the question. I think it's almost impossible in Maricopa County to find somebody who doesn't have an opinion already as to whether she should live or die. So I think the defense will file a motion for change of venue, and whether they hold the trial in a different county or bust the jurors in, sequester them, put them in a hotel room, that's the decision that the judge will have to make.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jodi Arias' attorneys have asked to step down from this case. Is this a window for them to step down, or it's still not likely to happen? What's your thought?
I think it's highly unlikely they'll let these lawyers withdraw at this point. If they couldn't do it prior to this, I don't see why anything's changed at this point. So I don't think the judge will let them off the case.
From a defense attorney's standpoint, a new jury being impaneled, what's sort of the angle? I mean, what direction would you take in this next step?
In the next step, if I was the defense attorney, I'd be sure to put on some mitigating witnesses, her family, her friends, and I'd have Jodi herself show some contrition. She has not really apologized and asked for forgiveness yet, and that's what she needs to come to terms with.
Mm-hmm. I guess people need to understand that there's a big difference between the guilt and innocent part and this death penalty phase, correct?
Oh, absolutely. This is not an entire retrial on guilty or innocent, or whether it's heinous, cruel, or depraved. This only relates to whether they should put her to death or let her live in prison.
So basically, what can we expect? Simply just a mini trial like we've seen the past couple of weeks?
Yes, I think it'll be a very redacted trial, maybe a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks tops, where they summate the evidence. Obviously, they're going to bring in the medical examiner to show how horrible the death was, and I think the defense will then present the bulk of the evidence.
Mm-hmm. Now, lastly, I guess it was back in 2002, the U.S. Supreme Court made the decision that allowed juries to make the decision in these death penalty phases of these cases. You feel like the judges were better served, or